Entering the Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by Underdog, the U.S. Open. Final bets, picks, preview, DraftKings picks, Underdog, one and done, weather, overview, and your questions at the end. Be generous, smash the like, sub to the channel, and after the show is finished, in the comment section, give me your single favorite player in the $5,000 range on DraftKings this week, and you'll get into a draw for a box, or a couple boxes actually, of Pro V1X Underdog branded balls. I'll send those out to you. We'll announce the winners on Monday's show. Tambo, you were not here last week, but now we're back, and it's time to win some money.
It is, yeah. Busy week with Paulina, but I'm back. It's exciting. We're here. It's my favorite major of the year. I talk about this always, but I love the U.S. Open, so this is going to be a good one.
It's funny. I've heard so many people say that this week about how this is their favorite major. It's not my favorite major.
I'm on record for a long time saying it, so I'll at least stand on that, but it's definitely mine. I know everybody always talk about the nostalgia of the Masters. The big thing about the Masters is the same course all the time. It's the first major of the year every year. Look how beautiful, gorgeous, the azaleas, all these different things, but PGA Championship definitely ain't it. Everybody knows that. And the Open is fun. I love like the late night of it. I think you've mentioned this before, and we've even talked about this in the past. I get it. That is fun. It's right up there with this, but I love the U.S. Open. I love just the carnage. I love the ability of, sort of being able to peg some of these golfers that are better suited for it and fit. So it's a fun one for me. It's always fun for DFS. I think it's a great one from a strategy perspective, and we're going to break that all down today.
Well, we'll get into that in a minute, but I would go Open, Masters, 1-2, little gap, U.S. Open, big gap, PGA Championship.
Yeah, mine be U.S. Open for sure at the top. Then it would be the Masters. Then it would be the Open, and then big gap, PGA Championship. It's just not, I don't know what it is about that one, and it's not that I know some people get so offended by that, but it's not the one. Like the other three have something special about them that I don't know what goes wrong with it or where that happens in my brain for the PGA Championship and for most, but it just doesn't feel like it's a full-on major like the other three.
Weirdly, by the PGA Championship, obviously I'm going to pay attention to it. It's my job. I get very excited for the Masters because, as you mentioned, it's the first one. This one is more of it's less betting. It's less DFS. It's more of a, same as the Open for me. It's like I just really enjoy sitting down and watching this one and the Open Championship, where I feel more engaged with anything. If anything, I end up being more in tune with the players than I am with the PGA Championship, simply because that's the first big event, and you get all hyped for it.
Yeah, stole my thunder. That's right where I was going next, Pat. It's funny enough, I put that big gap like you did, and I'll put the players above it, and it's somewhere in that gap between the third and the fourth for me. So yeah, I'm with you on that as well. Just something about it feels more special. The event's fun, full field, top strength, all these different factors. So course, all these factors and more. I always feel better about it. So that's how I rank them.
If you are watching this after the live stream, still smash the like and sub to the channel while you're here, and you can get in that comment section draw. But if you want to hop around to what Tambo and I are specifically going to be talking about, there will be time codes for that during the live show. This we don't know as of yet, but I want to start with an overview of what you make of this U.S. Open. Are you buying into, well, you need this skill set, you need this skill set? Because I know that's not normally how you look at a tournament.
Yeah, typically not. The U.S. Open, that's one thing about it. So we talked some strategy. I mean, that it is really, like the Masters, which the Masters is more of a course history because people that have seen the course, the experience, the smaller field, et cetera, the U.S. Open has a certain type, and we've seen it. The history bears out a little bit more. Obviously, the course plays extremely difficult for 4 full days, so that's kind of the setup here. And again, people will say, oh, but this day might be a little easier this year, and this will happen if there's a little bit of rain. All these factors, it still is 4 full days of difficult golf and certain skill sets. So we'll look at it when we get through it. Doesn't mean some of these others, grinders and those types can't get through. Great approach shots, good scramblers, all this will come up. So it's hard to completely peg it. But a lot of this stuff is going to be based around like roster construction, which I know we'll spend time on later. When you're picking a winner, Pat, and I know in the bets and one and done and all this other stuff, I think the pool gets very small when it comes to that. And that's pretty much what we've seen in years in the past.
Unfortunately for me, when we get to the one and done section, I don't have very many high-end players remaining to choose from. That's probably why I'm inside the top 75. I had Sam Burns last week. Blicko and I talked through it while you were off. And it's like, yeah, let's go with Sam Burns. That was the main pick for the team that we pick on the show. That's super high up in the standings. And it was as high as I think like 21st again. when he had the 1-stroke lead, and then it all went away, and then he ended up coming in second. Now I think I'm sitting in 67th place, so I need to make something happen here if I want to get back to the top. One thing before we start and get into everything, I was looking at the past 5 years of US Open data in terms of strokes gained putting, because I do think this is an angle that we don't talk about all that much. Putting, not super predictable, but these are such unique speeds of greens. Obviously, Oakmont greens are going to be different than Wingfoot greens, and they're going to be different than LA Country Club, but the speed of them generally stays the same. They're some of the fastest that you're going to encounter all year long. Do you know who by far the best putter on average per round is at US Opens?
That is certainly not something that I look at. So please tell.
It's Harris English.
Oh, just add to his ownership.
Yeah, I'm not going to play him this week.
He's got great US Open history.
I like Harris English enough. I think he's actually kind of geared for US Opens. He has that slightly above average style of game everywhere, and clearly he just putts really well. But maybe one of the reasons he's done so well at US Opens because he averages almost 2 strokes gained per round at US Opens.
Yeah. Harris English certainly gets the job done at plenty of times, and he's an excellent golfer. It's like you said, every little thing that you could stack onto it. I guess it'll be interesting when we get to that later, because there's a lot of guys around him like Bobby Mack and some of those other dudes too that we can talk about to see where we think everyone ends up. But that's a conversation when we get to DraftKings later. It's an interesting nugget though when it comes to the stats.
Of guys that have more than 4 rounds at US Opens who lead in per round putting average, English is one, Cam Smith is very high, Burns after that, Lucas Glover, who I do like a lot this week, Russell Henley, Matthew Pavon, Chris Kirk, Patrick Cantlay, Dietrich, Cole, Bryson, Patrick Reed, Mark Hubbard, Min Woo, Wyndham Clark, Mackenzie Hughes, Denny McCarthy. These are all guys that are up there. Then it's John Rahm. Just quick prediction on ownership before we dig into this too much. At the top, it's going to be Scotty, Bryson, and Rahm of some sort, because then you're going to have Xander, Thomas, and Rory following behind in terms of ownership. How do you think that those 3 rate out in terms of ownership? Do you think there's going to be a massive gap from the highest to lowest, or do you think all 3 of them will be about the same?
I think it's Scotty and Bryson end up being very, somewhere in that 30 to 35 range is what it feels like for those two. And then Rahm comes in just behind them. So I think there's a small gap to Rahm, but it's not much. And you can play Bryson, Rahm pretty easily together. I know you can actually play Scotty, Bryson together, which we'll spend time on, I'm sure. But the one thing I'm seeing in some places is that they have Scotty much higher. And even for us over at Chip It Nation, same thing, just looking at it and digging in. The more I build, the more I look at things, the more we spend time on it. We're getting closer to Wednesday evening. I do think that we see Bryson move up, and Scotty, whether he stays the same and Bryson comes up to him, or Scotty comes back to give room for more Bryson, it does feel like that $3,400 difference to Bryson is kicking in. So I think it's going to be those two, and then a small gap to Rahm.
What do you think that does to Rory then? How low does Rory go?
He's getting squeezed. I think it's like in the $25 Millie Maker, which a lot of people would be focused on, or the $5 with the 100K up top over on DraftKings. I could see 10 to 15. Like, people are still going to play him because the quote unquote sharps are going to be like, oh, I got to squeeze him in too, and I'm going to take my stand if nobody wants him. Blah blah blah. That will happen, but just naturally, it's not going to happen. So for the most part, I think we could see 10 to 15% range, definitely.
Do you think that means Xander ends up being the one who ends up in single digits? Because I just think that there's too much love for those 3 guys for someone not to fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah, certainly is an interesting point you made there, because even right now with the higher numbers on some of these guys, I still see Xander coming in after Rory. And that's because if people are making a decision, they'll say $2,000 from Scotty to Rory. Let me play the hero and do this and not think about the overall grand scheme, which we'll get to, of being able to play Scotty easily this week. That price bump was completely fictitious when you look at what they did with the rest of the pricing. But the Xander spot is just difficult because he's literally squeezed. It's Bryson and Rahm, and you can make all the cases for Xander's US Open history, and people still aren't clicking off Bryson and Rahm wrapped around him. So it's going to be tricky.
Let's get to the weather. Oakmont weather stations, very convenient they were able to name it that, on Windfinder. I'll have that direct link. It's already in the newsletter post that I put out. You can also find that on X. I'll have a fresh one this evening with more fun stuff in it, more fun ways to lose your money. But it seems like the wind is going to be down all week, which is kind of crazy. Rain in the forecast for Saturday now into Sunday, and it seems like it's getting pushed later and later in the week. There's a chance that it just stays dry all weekend.
Yeah, what do you think about that? What's your sort of first take on the weather?
The drier it plays, the harder it gets.
I was going to say, like, my thoughts were it's already hard enough as it is. So the weather would probably just make it a lot worse. But in this case, like you said, it does seem that way. And we'll see how it actually plays out. But I don't know. What are we going to get like that first day US Open and it plays a little easier than everybody expected? And then everyone bitches and complains. And the next thing you know, it turns into concrete and we get 3 days of that. And it's extremely difficult. Or how do you see this sort of winning score? I know we've seen, I think 1.5 under, like the line has been like 1.5, so 2 under, 1 under. What do you sort of see the winning score being at this thing?
I really think that they're shooting for an over par winner here. I think the +1 wins.
Interesting. I'm going the other way. I think these golfers are too good and someone's going to figure it out and beat the 2 under. So if you got a 1.5, I'm on the other side of that. I know it looks extremely difficult. I know what they're going for. The USGA specifically, other, spots around the PGA Tour, like they've tried for these things before, and typically these golfers are just too good and they find a way around it. Somebody will dazzle, even if it's only one guy. I think it's from the betting perspective. I like going the other way on that line.
It'd be because I believe it was at Winged Foot that there were 2 accessible par 5s. They weren't easy birdies by any stretch, but they were pretty birdieable. The number 4 this week is going to be the par 5 on the back. Is a legitimate. It's not like a full 3-shot hole, but for some guys it's going to be a full 3-shot hole. But just with the way that the hole is constructed, you end up with the ball below your feet after your drive. Like I watched DJ try to get there all 4 days, and he just was not able to do it. He got it kind of close, like within 30 yards once. And if he wasn't doing it that week, it's basically Bryson, Rory, Minwoo have a shot of getting it there, but they still need to hit a perfect drive and a perfect approach shot. And these greens are just so tricky that there are very few easy birdies out there. There are birdies out there, like on 17, for example, that if you take a run at that green, as long as you miss in the bunker, that's not short-sided to you, it should be a pretty easy up and down birdie. That's what we saw last time around. And even just looking at how the hole is constructed, I think that's going to be the same case this time. There's going to be a few guys that actually fly it to that green. I think there were 6 eagles made there. So there are scoring opportunities. It's just the other holes, unless you sun run your putter like Andrew Landry did and like for the first 3 days of the tournament last time around, there's just too many bogeys to keep you afloat. That if you could, I mean, I know they said they would take, there was a big thing going around with the players that if they took even par right now, that would be fine. I could see it being 2 under. I very much doubt it's going to be 5-6 under par.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think one, like even if it's only one guy, I just think they eclipse that. I think they get to the 2 under. So we'll see. But it certainly looks difficult. That's what I like. The carnage. It looks like a lot of fun. I can't wait to just turn off Discord notifications completely when everybody's bitching about bogeys, like they, weren't expecting them or something here. Like, sometimes bogeys the score and you just move on and you got to collect those pars along the way. And then when it gets to a DraftKings perspective later, position placement points become a lot more important. Having those grinders just find their way up the board, because if there's not going to be a lot of scoring, funny enough, DraftKings put out the promotion for, 90 birdies this week in a lineup. Do you think any lineups are going to get 90 birdies in them, Pat?
90 birdies. That would be what per player? No, it'd be more than no, not even close.
That's the debate. Last time everyone thought it wasn't going to happen. Forget what it was on last time. It was on an easier course though. So this is a much more tricky spot to imagine. But if you do get to it, could be a big reward, because 90 birdies seems very tricky this week for a 6-man lineup that has salary constraints to it.
If one of your guys gets to 15 birdies, you're going to be ecstatic, and it would require all 6 of your players to generate at least 15 birdies to get there.
Correct. That's math. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see. But I thought it was a funny promo that they put out, at least. We'll see how it goes.
And now I'm trying to think. Like, do you think that people average 2 birdies per round?
I don't know. It's not my forte.
Maybe 3. Like 3 seems pretty extreme for a U.S. Open, especially at Oakmont. That now we're at 12. Maybe it's possible that if you pick the right, put it this way, if you win that promo of reaching 90 birdies, you're probably also going to win the Millie Maker.
There you go. That's what I'm waiting to see. That's what I want to see how it happens. Hopefully it's me. So I'll be looking forward to putting together some nice lineups. Going to be playing that $25, definitely playing the $5 with 100K up top. Gonna have a lot of lineups out there this week, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm not actually going to spam all that much. I have a collection of guys that I like, and I think I have a few pivots that I'm willing to go in on. There's just a couple guys I simply do not want to play, but I do want to talk about that roster construction with you, because I might just lock Bryson and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely a high. I mean, there's a possibility others will too, as well this week, and that's why I mentioned earlier. I don't believe right now that the ownership is that much of a gap between him and Scotty. As easy as it is to play Scotty, like I said, it's a bit of a travesty the pricing this week because everyone just assumes because they made Scotty 14-4. Wow, they finally did it. They fixed the pricing. They blew it up in the middle completely, and it just turned into a disaster. So it's fine. We all play with the same stuff. I just wouldn't praise them too much for fixing Scotty when they destroyed everything else.
The final betting card of the week is not yet finalized because I'm thinking about adding one more name to the outright betting card, but I'm going to decide that later on. That'll be in the newsletter later tonight. I'm really leaning Morikawa because I keep seeing the number drift. And if I can get a 35, I'm probably going to take it. But right now, I got Bryson at 10. It's in, well, I mean, 10 for people out there. I mean, it's down to like 7.5 now. You can get an 11-1 at CoolBet under the PME special promo if you would like. Just sign up to CoolBet. You can find all that info down in the description. So Bryson 10-1, Keegan 70-1 with 8 places. Straka 80-1, no places because the 80 number was too good for me to pass on last week. And then Ryan Gerard 200-1 with 8 places. Those are the 4 outright bets that I have in right now. I do want to take someone else in that sub 40 range, but it's not going to be Scotty. It's not going to be Rory. It's not going to be Rahm. Those guys are too high up. So I'm going to try to decide on someone in that 20 to 40 range to potentially go with. Maybe I set this one out. Who knows? First round leader, Gerard, Colley, Bridgman, Pavon, and Lucas Glover. Those 5 guys also played with 5 places, and I have 2 specials in the exotic market. I talked it through on the Best Bet show yesterday with Raza and Byron. I went with Justin Hicks, top senior, 14-1. That's simply to beat Phil and Richard Bland. Yes, he's an underdog. Is he a 14-1 underdog against those guys? I personally don't think so because maybe those guys aren't all that great. Pavon, top French at plus 150 as well. He's got to beat Lacroix and Victor Perez, who has simply never made a cut at the U.S. Open. Does not handle these big boy courses very well.
Yeah, I got more faith in the senior one. I think I'm not out on Victor Perez yet, so we'll see. But yeah, I get it. And the only guy I think you worry about there is Phil, probably, right? If he gets you.
No, I'm worried about Bland, honestly, but he's Anderker, so I think that might make up for it.
Phil's fired up right now. That's the thing, right? Phil's got he had the bad take on Scotty on social media, so they gotta, he's got to follow up on that. I think Phil's going to be the one you got to worry about there.
Interesting. Now, I just the game that Phil plays, I just do not think is conducive to how this is going to be set up. At least with Bland and Hicks to a lesser extent too, because Hicks will still probably be top 5 in accuracy for the week. That's the one thing that he does well. He just hits every single fairway, no distance off the tee. So you hope he can roll it a little bit, and then he doesn't even have to make the cut to win this bet. As long as he's like right around the cut line, that could be good enough. The problem is Bland plays kind of exactly the same game, but he's playing at a much higher level than Hicks right now. But, if it's a 14-1 spread, do I think that he beats him more than once in 14 times? I do. I really do. And Phil, I could see shooting like 20 over.
It's certainly possible. We've seen that Phil before, but it's funny. Is anyone tuning in live or just hopping on like this second and we're talking Justin Hicks versus Bland versus Phil? That's exotics for you.
Well, it's difficult this week because how do you bet it? If Scotty's such an overwhelming favorite, and everyone has seen it out there that he is now the lowest price at a major since Tiger in 2009. Weirdly enough, this course does seem to be perfectly designed for him, as most courses are for Scotty Scheffler. I don't know. He's never won a U.S. Open. You think if they're all designed for him, they would have won one by now. Like, it's not inconceivable that he doesn't win this week.
Yeah, if you're not in on Scotty, which I don't think most are, people aren't betting that. I saw Rahm was getting tipped a bunch, all that stuff. Like, I get that side of it because people are looking at the numbers. A lot of people on Bryson had the futures on him, so some bigger numbers, and that's fine too. So I get all that. And you and I even talked about that 2 weeks ago when we had like a mini look ahead and mentioned about the Bryson futures tickets. And so I guess it's like you just put together the card of the guys you actually think that can win at the numbers you're comfortable with. If it's like Ludwig. People will put Fleetwood or Hovland or whoever they feel. It doesn't mean they're going to win. I'm just saying, like, that's how I think people feel better about putting together a card versus a bunch of long shots. But everybody likes to bet long shots as well.
I see. I don't mind the long shots this week simply because of the placement. So if you have half your bet on the win, half your bet on the placement by the odds of whatever the outright number is simply going to be a better number on your top 5 or top 10 than anywhere else you're going to find. So you play it that way, because at the US Open, we do see random dudes inside the top 10 every year.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly there, though. It's a disguise for a much better, a much better number than if you would have just bet a top 5 or a top 10. But that's what they are. That's what those bets are. If they somehow won, congrats and predicting the future with your crystal ball. But like it's a small group of guys. Like I said, we're picking winners at the top here. So I think it's even the fringe group of those winners is where people try and validate cases for like Tommy Fleetwood and Hovland and some of those guys. But at least if they won, you'd be like, all right, well, I get it. That happened. If it's your guy, Ryan Gerard, getting the win, that'd be very surprising versus top 5ing it and getting there for you on the each way. That's what the bet was really for. And you nailed it. That's perfect.
Yeah. The bet is for the 40-1 top 8.
Yes. Yep. No, perfect call. I love that call. And I don't think enough people spend enough time on that or recognizing that when they're out there looking and actually doing it. They're just clicking buttons and pressing bet and hoping that it goes their way.
So you mentioned there's a short list of guys that you think that can possibly win this tournament. Who is that short list?
I don't have it myself. I'm saying like you could just look at the board. Is Scotty, Rory, Bryson, Rahm. Like, to me, I'm just saying when you go to a US Open, what the typical protocol is, like what it's going to play out like versus a PGA Championship. The list is super wide. It's not about this is a finite list of 5 guys that can win this for me. It's saying you know that there's likely to be a winner from this, whatever your top 10 grouping is likely where the winner comes from. Each person will have a different top 10 to round it out. I don't have a set list for myself.
So I'm on Golf Tips Checker right now. Great account, by the way. So 269 tips from over 50 sources right now. These are the players that are being tipped the most in the betting market. Rahm is number 1 at 10-1. He's still available at 12 at CoolBet right now in a lot of places, honestly. Harris English, 60-1. Straka, 33. I don't know how many people have actually tipped Straka at 33-1. I just think that he was tipped so much, he is now 33-1.
Possibly that. Yeah, there's a lot of stats and I'll call it like stat sentiment, if you will, of him coming in, of like how good he's actually been and how he's set up as underpriced, and betting odds are there for him. And if you don't have any of the big dogs left in one and done, and really, Pat, you can frame it up for sort of any market, any angle, any type of game. But that is the sentiment I'm seeing and hearing around Sepp Straka, and that would make sense that it just got down to that.
Yeah, it made sense. Like when I bet it, it made sense, in my mind at least, last week when I betted 80-1. When Jeff and I discussed it on the show on Monday, he was either 50 or 55-1 everywhere else. Not obviously as good of a number, but a fine number, I think, for the chance that you're taking with Straka and the way that he's playing. Now you need him to contend at this number. And he still feels like more of a long shot, and this is bordering on top 10 in terms of the favorites. And I don't know if maybe his profile would say that he's there, but I just don't think that he's close enough to even someone like Xander. Honestly, yes, I bet Straka to win. I did not bet Xander to win because Xander's still being priced like he's Xander who won 2 majors last year, not a guy who is slightly worse and hasn't recaptured his entire game from that point forward. But they shouldn't be necessarily in the same stratosphere near the top. If Xander wanted to move back more towards Straka, that I could live with, but not Straka moving up to that tier.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing too. Would you rather just a couple names I'll throw out? These aren't my picks. I'm just giving you an example because you live in these streets. Sepp Straka right now that I'm looking at, you could still get it 36-1. But would you want that right now, or would you want Sam Burns at 75 or Spieth at 60 or any of those? The Hideki at 60, Hovland 55. Any of those stand out to you at all versus going with the Straka at 36?
Yeah, if my only choice was Straka at 36 and Sam Burns was 75, I'd probably bet Sam Burns.
Yeah, it's kind of how I'm seeing it. So again, that'll all play out its own way when we get to DraftKings, but we're talking betting, one and done, leading into all these different things. That's kind of what I'm looking at and seeing it. Even, the chat's talking about it. What about, stepping up in class? So, that's another thing as well. Playing good right now and playing good coming in is awesome. That's definitely what you're looking for. Course fit, you think he'd be great, but it's whether or not he actually does it is a whole different world. And then at that number makes it tricky as well. So anybody who got the 55, 60s, I'm sure they feel great. The 36 is not so much anymore.
And I do think that he has stepped up in class. That was one of the things that I wanted to see before betting him. He just won a signature event in Pennsylvania a month ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good with it. Like I said, I get where it came from originally. I certainly see that. I liked your call out of, It's not really that's what he's being tipped at as the most. It's he was tipped the most to get there. And now it's a tough click for most people, and including yourself, it sounds like.
After him, it's Keegan is number 4. Ludwig is number 5. Neiman, number 6. Bryson, number 7. And then Cantlay at 33-1, which I have no interest in that number. Like, just make Cantlay 50. I would probably not bet it at 50. I would sniff around it a little bit more at 50 rather than a 33. And like I said, I probably still wouldn't get there, but
I will say this: he's just curating. So shout out, like you said, the account. I love it as well. But that list seems horrible for this event. Like I get it. Like, people are looking for value and they're picking a number and they're running off of it. But that list just seems insane to me. And that's just my opinion. But it's pretty wild list of names when you think about it. Clearly there was value on some guys, and that's where people are just betting the number. But man, that is interesting.
Yeah, because most people got Rahm at a better number than 10-1, hence why he's now down to 10-1 and Rory's 14-1 in the market. But this reminds me a lot of the mistake that I made at the Players, just to see how people's betting cards are coming together. And look, I have Bryson, I have Bradley, and I have Straka on my betting card. The 3 of the 4 names I have are inside the top 8 tip. That's probably not a good sign. But what I did at the Players, and I remember talking to you that morning of, like, what am I going to do? I have this decision to make. I can either bet Rory, or for the same price, I can bet Xander and Justin Thomas. And I got sucked into the 25-1 and 33-1 guy. And I think that's what people are doing here. They're getting sucked into Ludwig, Neiman, and Cantlay in that range, rather than being like, you know what? I'll just bet Rahm, or I'll just bet Rory, or I'll just bet Bryson, which is probably the superior move.
Yeah, because Rory 14 still, and I think there's boosts on him in some places. So it's like, do you just bet that? And funny, earlier when you said I have one more bet, and I already knew, but you gave it away, you were leaning into one more Ikawa bet that you could make because you posted about it yesterday on X. You're like, can't wait to bet this guy at 35-1 with the drift, and then watch him shoot X or whatever. But the Rory number was your decision at the Players, and now it's kind of a decision right now as well. But again, people just love picking up the value numbers. Like, they want the 90, they want the 60, they want this, but it's just so much more likely that it's 20 or less that you're going to see hit.
There is a site tempting me right now with a Rory 18-1.
There you go.
If that gets to 20, I kind of have to. I don't have to bet it, obviously. Wait, what's your take on Rory this week?
How often is that site open?
What'd you say?
How often? Usually you finish that sentence. How often is that site open? I'm just curious if you were getting a better boost than me.
No, I opened the site, I just refreshed the site right now. It took them from 15 up to 18.
But it's not open 365 days a year.
Oh, it is open 365 days a year.
Okay, that's what we're looking for there. Yeah. So the Rory thing is interesting because it's what this is what happens, right? It's just sentiment right now. Rory's horrible. Like, again, think about how quickly this changed, Pat. The guy wins the career Grand Slam. Every podcast, show, you name it, article I saw that week after was this look at the events for the majors this year. This is Rory's year. He's going to just go off now that he won everything. That was literally that came out because he just won the Masters and got the monkey off his back for the career Grand Slam and winning a major after so many years, etc. Everybody knows this stuff. I get it. But after that, it's like, man, look how quickly they turn on you, right? Oh, now he's horrible. Oh, now I get it. Now that he won that, he'll never win again because he even said it himself in a presser. He even said it himself. It's once you get a big event like that out of the way, it's hard to dial it back in. You think Rory McIlroy just falls off the face of the earth for the rest of a lifetime? No, and I know we're only talking about 1 week, but yes, he could still do bad this week. But it's funny just when you think about that stuff, how quickly the sentiment changes on some of these guys.
It's kind of nuts. And if it does reach the 20, he's putting the new driver back in the old driver back in the bag, not the cheater driver, but some other one that he hasn't been using since. Like, if he just shows up and drives it like he's Rory, I mean, the dude has 6 straight top 10s at the U.S. Open. He should have won probably each of the last 2 versions of the U.S. Open. I wouldn't be super stunned if Rory won.
Yeah, that's my whole point. If it happened, then that's what's funny about how the sentiment can flip so quickly again. And it was this is reminding me of a little bit of last year, I guess, totally different circumstances by a big margin, actually, but a career Grand Slam, a first major. But, if you go back to Xander, remember Xander, just a choke artist. No way he can win. If he can't even win in Hawaii and close the door, how's he going to come out and win a major? Oh, let me just pick up 2 of those on your ass and get 2 majors under my belt in the same year. So again, it's Rory McIlroy. He was playing phenomenal golf until he wasn't the last couple of weeks. The RBC Canadian Open is hilarious because my buddy Hoop yesterday, my guy, he said it. Would you ever imagine Scottie Scheffler coming out at the RBC Canadian Open and playing that horrible? No. So there is probably something to the Rory getting the monkey off his back and having a hard time focusing. But now we're back to a major. It gave him more time to come in and get ready for this, dial in, focus up, and get back to what he loves doing. It will not surprise anybody, but there'll be a lot of people that can't really say much because they talk so much shit about him this last week and a half that like, what are they going to say at that point? Because they already dipped down to talk shit about him. So if he comes back and wins, nobody should be surprised, but some people won't be able to speak on it as highly.
Someone in the chat asked me about top 5s, top 10s, and top 20s. I mean, I'm not one to have sex with 2 condoms on. If, I'm married, I'm going to have sex with a condom on. But you want to triple up on condoms, you play the top 20 market this week. But I do have one for you here. This is a show where we're trying to win big. We're not trying to win minimally. That's why we lose every single week, or at least I lose every single week. But I do have a weekly boost up on Coolbet right now. And these are the 3 facets of it. And it pays plus 1250. It's Pavon, top French, Jacob Bridgman to make the cut, and Ryan Gerard, top 40. That pays just over 12 to 1.
That was not bad, though. That seems like a relatively good spot to get after it. Like, that's a different way to do it. And it's not top 10. It's not top 20. But, I mean, the condom thing, just you at least got one on with those each way bets there that I talked to you about where I framed it up. Like, you are covering yourself on those ones just for that each way because it pays better. But it's a sharp way of doing it, Pat. So you got the right ones. You got good condoms.
Yeah, you can also play those each ways at a place that is open 365 days a year. Byron actually brought up the best Scheffler bet, I think, of anyone I've talked to so far, because people want to get down on Scheffler. Like, how do you do that? Is it plus 250 to win the tournament? I don't think so. He might win. You're like, great. You bet $10 and you won 25. Fantastic news. But if you did want to make a bit of a larger bet, like just even to take a look at some of his markets right now, it seems super off. Was he mentioned that Scotty's been the best first round player in both regular tournaments and majors over the past 4 years. His top 10 for the first round is plus 150. I believe his top 10 for the entire tournament's like minus 410 or something.
Yeah, I like that better. Just getting it out of the way early like that. I don't think we see, at least from my research and recollection, if you will, of the first round leader stuff with him, right? But that's another interesting thing that just made me think of it. So first of all, I love that. Love Byron. That all makes sense. Good to go with it. But what about Rory first round leader? He does or he doesn't type thing. What's that pay?
It's only like 20 to 1 or something, unfortunately. It feels like you'd want more out of that, because if Rory ends up winning, it's that he recaptured being Rory. I see exactly what you're saying. That might be the move, but I'm already over leveraged in the first round leader market with a bunch of goobers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So your same theory and process on what you said for like the main stuff, like the 2 guys versus 1 guy thing. Obviously, that can always be a tricky, battle when you mentioned like you had good names. I think it was Xander and JT at the players that you mentioned versus Rory. Yeah, that's going to be tricky, and those guys were fine, and you could have played them and whatever. But in this type of first round leader spot, that would be the way to do it. Just hope Rory rekindles it, and then even if he blows up and everyone gets to make fun of him, you cash the 20 to 1 ticket early.
It's not a bad way of thinking about it. I prefer in a tournament like this, where I do think contained within a single round, you're going to see 3 or 4 guys who just putt the lights out. And one of them can be first round leader. So I'm just going to take guys that have the potential to do that and possess one of the other skills that I'm looking for, be it super distance, great US Open history, tons of accuracy, great approach players, that they check enough boxes that if they can get the hot putting round, then all of a sudden I'm cashing a 160 to 1 ticket and not just banking on one guy for even more money that I was going to spend anyway.
That's true. Yeah, it depends on your card also. Like you said, I mean, if you have a bunch of long shots and Rory, you want to have Rory as your 1 guy up top for first round leader, I'm fine with that. But
the whole thing broke down to that Scotty inside the top 10 plus 150 after the first round. It's 100 points more for him to win the tournament. Like, you can either have the top 10 or you can have him just to beat everyone over 4 days at a slightly better number. I'd rather just take the shot on day 1.
Yeah, you said he has the stats to back it up, and no doubt the model maniac for a reason. He's got it figured out, but I think it is. I don't know, in my head, it's like that's not true, but the stats say it, so it is true. But it feels like Scotty could be like top 20, top 30. He just gets through the first round and then he wears you down over the next 3 days with everything else he's got in the bag. So including his mental game. So I think that's kind of how I feel about it, but definitely like that bet better than just putting 250 for the whole thing.
Matt Tobin actually brings this up in the chat. I think it's actually a really good one. I didn't even notice it. A derivative bet that no ace at minus 165 this week. Only one in Oakmont history on the long par threes. Sounds pretty good.
Sounds really good. And none of people, so many people scoff at these. Like, how could you ever bet this at minus 165? It's like, it's probably way better value than that number. So I love that find, but this feels a little bit of Cust-esque, where we're going to say that it makes perfect sense. It's a great bet. There's no way this thing is going to happen. And then bang, day one, it's your boy Pavon with an ace or something like that. And it's like, oh man, shit, that's over quickly. But I love those. I love that call. And I love those types of bets that make sense for it.
Look, if Pavon wants to make an ace on day one, I am here for it with that first round leader bet. Get as many strokes as you can, pal.
I also, yeah, exactly. I also like that is the latter part of his message there. Winning score under 278.5. Minimal win, rained later in the week, should soften it just enough. And I think these guys are just too good. So somebody figures it out. I'm with them on that one for sure. I think that's a good one.
If it's you, who do you think is the one who figures it out? Because I do think it's Bryson.
What you said, if it's you, I didn't know what you meant. Sorry.
If it's you, if you had to pick the guy who does figure this out, is it Scotty or is it Bryson? Because I honestly think it comes down to those two.
I think it's the top. I think it's one of the top three. I think Scotty, Bryson, or Rory. I really think like the Rory thing is very possible this week, that it's just a bounce back after all the narratives and stuff. It's like we've seen it so many times, and it's just, again, when you're playing DFS, you can build a whole portfolio. When you're betting, you can't bet all three of those guys or that. And like for me though, it's enough big names and enough of the best in the world at a spot that I think they can find it, that I'm in on that bet on the 2 under. I think one of them hits it, and I think it's one of those three.
Well, it's difficult. Like if you think it is 2 under, I mean, hell, even give it 3 under. It's
yes,
those are so few outs to bet the under on it, in my mind, at even money. Like you're saying, one guy might get to 2 under.
That's all you need, though, is what I'm saying. My point is, that's all you need, and you're right. I'm saying I think it's one of those 3 guys that are good enough to do it and to make it happen. But that's, I mean, if Xander did it, no surprise. If Morikawa, Ludwig, JT, if any of those guys figured it out and did it, it wouldn't surprise. Tommy Fleetwood gets the 3 under and gets a win at a major. Like that anything like that to me is like there's way more outs to what I'm saying. I'm just saying who I think it would be of those 3. I think there's enough. It's the best in the world playing at an extremely difficult course, but you only need one of them to beat that number. And I think there's enough of a pool to beat that number.
Multiple people have now brought up that history says that Siwoo is just going to ace the giant par 3 because he loves hole-in-ones on giant par 3s. That there's your hedge. You just bet no hole-in-one and then specifically bet Siwoo at 200 to 1 to make an ace 2. Play both sides of it.
I was just looking it up because I have it up here. Yeah, it is 200. Wow.
Which is a horrible number.
Yeah, obviously, but it's, you got to, if you call it, now you got to go bet it, or you're going to have FOMO. You got to have that clip, man, with the ticket.
I'm pretty good here. The last betting question we'll get to before we move on, AJ asks, my book has the highest score of the week set at 87.5, which is what? Where would I lean? I don't know where I would. People love the thumbnail this week, by the way.
It's the best of all time.
You think so?
I posted before like the best collage I could make of them, and I have all them saved, and there's now like probably 50 actual thumbnails, but this one by far was the best. Like that, just from a full perspective of when it happened, how quickly the turnaround was, and then the look. It's just hilarious because Dustin Johnson's face is like this thin, and mine is like this, and they fixed it for that as well. It's too good, man. It's certainly perfect. So shout out to our guy, Padded Room, but that's a nice one there. I think it's the over on 87.5.
There was one score in the first round over that number in 2016. It was from Zachary Edmonston. He shot 89. The next highest score was 84. In round 2, the highest score was 85. The highest score in round 3 was 79. The highest score in round 4 was 81. With my main man, Justin Hicks. There we go. If he makes the cut this week, I'm winning that bet. Yeah. Go shoot your 81s on the weekend, pal.
I think it's this bet is over, but I think it's also over for your bet if it doesn't happen in 1 or 2.
Oh yeah, I would tend to agree. Just because you have, I mean, yes.
It's not
because
even
you
a
have,
bold take. It's more of like just saying like, yeah, they're obviously the guys that make the weekend are playing better. It's also, if it gets easy, it's a bet you're making that you'll get the answer to quickly. So that's the good, if someone's looking for that, which a lot of people are with the Scotty number and the other stuff, you got to wait all weekend to see if somebody gets to 2 under. And I'm sure after day one, everyone will be predicting it one way or the other, depending on how round 1 goes. But that bet is definitely very likely to be found out in round 1, if not round 2, and then nothing after that.
all right, you smash the like while you're here. You sub to the channel. And in the meantime, go leave a review on the audio podcast as well. It's extra ways to get into the draw. Helps us out during major week. Go grab a coffee. Go grab some breakfast because we're going to be back with DraftKings, Underdog, and One and Done right after this. I was having some problems sleeping. When anyone has little kids, that's probably going to be the case. They'll come up, wake you up in the middle of the night for no real apparent reason. So you're waking up, you're going back to sleep, you're waking up, going back to sleep. It's not the best sleep. I put my Apple Watch on and tried to track my sleep tracker. It was not going well. A lot of that changed once I got a Helix mattress, however, because I was able to customize it to both what I want, what my wife wants, and now we are sleeping throughout the night. The little noises that would just normally wake you up when you're not sleeping well, no longer the case for me. No more back pain either, because I'm actually sleeping on a mattress that is perfect for what my back demands, which is a lot because I have a terrible back. The one that I had before my Helix mattress, I spent a lot of money on it. It was bad after like 2 years. It had like the divot in it from where I sleep. It was unflippable. It was a horrendous waste of money. Not only is the Helix mattress I have now way better, it was also significantly cheaper. And it just showed up to my door in a box. Very easy to get onto my bed frame and just start using right away. So you can have all your problems solved with a Helix mattress as well. So you can go to helixsleep.com/mayo for 20% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/mayo for 20% off site-wide. Be sure to enter my name at the checkout so they know that I sent you. helixsleep.com/mayo. I've been telling you about Skims for a while. The men's brand is amazing. It's all I'm wearing now. I bought enough pairs of Skims. They sent me some at the beginning. That's how they get me. They sent me 2 or 3 pairs, and I was like, these Skims are amazing. I'm going to wear these all the time. But I only had 3 pairs. So then I had to go use my own promo code at Skims and go get more pairs. So I'm covered for at least 2 weeks because that is how comfortable they are. It's not only protecting the junk. The junk is in a top-notch position in my skins. They're not sagging around. I'm getting old. I'm past 40. As soon as I turn 40, I think my balls drop like 3 inches. It's no good. But I'm playing a ton of golf right now. They keep me comfortable on the course. And I'm a connoisseur of tight pants. Shocking to the viewers, I know. But you don't want to get bunched up. You wear boxers, it gets clumpy. Looks like you have a fupa on the go. That ain't no way to live. You want some Skims to make sure that everything is a sleek look, both personally and how it fits, and aesthetically for when people see it. You don't want that bunching up. It just looks weird. It's uncomfortable. It's nothing that you ever have to deal with again if you have Skims. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com and let them know that I sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select the Pat Mayo Experience in the drop-down menu that follows. Skims.com/Pat Mayo. The time has come to get some new golf clubs, and that means one thing. Heading over to the local PXG store for a fitting. They make the best golf clubs, period. My handicap has remained about the same this season. I've had the transition from my old irons over to PXG irons. I can tell you the main difference for me is that I'm starting to hit the ball like a player of my handicap is. I'm not just relying on short game and putting anymore. My old clubs had those thick backs, and my 7-iron would go anywhere from 160 to 210. There was no control over the club. With my new PXG irons, I can flight the ball the way I want it. If I wanted to hit a draw or a fade, I can do that with these clubs. There is so much customization that goes into it. That's why the fitting was so important for me. And the fastest way to improve your performance on the golf course is a PXG fitting. PXG fitters are highly trained, highly experienced, incredibly experienced even, and have a deep understanding of how to optimize your clubs to get the most out of your swing. That's what they did for me. My game is about to go over the ledge. My goal this year was to break 75 and to shoot at least 1 under on a 9 somewhere over the course of the season. I've been flirting with it already. Frankly, it's my short game and putting that have been letting me down. Now that I hit my iron so well, I'm in spots that I'm just not normally used to being. Hitting 4 irons and 5 irons and skying them up, getting them to land softly is just a whole new world to me, and it's all thanks to my PXG clubs. Plus, PXG fittings are educational and fun. So schedule your fitting today, and for a limited time, you can save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/PatMayo. That's pxg.com/PatMayo to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/PatMayo. Restrictions apply. See site for details. One and done picks for the U.S. Open, Tambo. Here's the problem I got for the team show that we do. I don't have Scotty, Bryson, Rory, Xander, Colin, Ludwig, Shane Lowry, or Justin Thomas, which means my options are Rahm, Neiman, and Tommy Fleetwood or Seb Straka or Patrick Cantlay. That's sort of the short list. I guess I could go Victor if I wanted to as well. Because I need to make up ground, I'm 61st. I'm still playing for first here. I still feel like I have a chance to come back with 2 majors and an elevated event. I need to kind of run a train through here. That in this scenario that I'm in, I can't take Rahm because I know how popular he's going to be.
Yeah. I think it's like a more of who you don't have week than who you do have, or more who you do have than who you don't have, because it's that type of week. And then there's the Bryson Rahm situation for those that do have him left, or Scotty. But after that, it goes down the list. I think it's probably someone like Fleetwood, Straka, whoever you want to roll with. But I like Fleetwood.
Fleetwood is who I have in right now.
Yeah. So
doesn't feel good.
It just makes sense. I don't know what else you can. I mean, you could save him for the Open. Fine, that's fine. But what do you really say? What are we saving? Like, you just move on it now while you can. You got limited choices, and you got a clear decision that you don't want to make, or really probably shouldn't make, based on where you stand.
Well, we really hammered that out when we spoke at the Memorial about when is the time to use Scotty, and it was like, use him at Memorial. It's a perfect time.
Yeah, and I had him. So I moved up from the 4,000 range to the 2,000 range, Pat, on my own personally. Dad's still in like the 111th or something like that. He's sitting there, but he's got decision to make this week too, because Rahm and everything like that. But he already used Bryson, I think.
So this is at fantasygolfchampionships.com. Worth noting that if you download the Fanball app in the Apple Store or the Android Store, you can make the picks on the app now, which is just fantastic news. You don't have to go to the website anymore. It's on the Fanball app. So go check that out right now for the Fantasy Golf Championships. It's not that I'm solely looking at the availability of the players. Like, Scotty's only available in 13%. Bryson's available in 54%. I know Bryson's going to be wildly popular. I'm actually going to use him on my other team that's in the money. It's in like 500th place. I think Bryson's going to win. I could use $4 million to move up to, I don't know, like 120th or something like that. But if I'm still playing for first in that other one, like, is there anyone below that range that I talked about that you would even consider chucking in? Like, is it a Brooksy week to use him?
Oh, you got to make that. Would you? You mentioned Neiman and not Brooks until now. Would you use Brooks or Neiman?
Neiman.
Yes, I guess. Just play on the recent form. The Neiman and majors thing is still going to always be a conversation. But
hey, coming off a top 10. So the best comment that I saw all week, it was directed towards Jeff, because both Cuss and Jeff picked Neiman as one of their picks to win. And we just talked about Rory coming off the Masters. It's a big letdown for Rory, hitting that career achievement. Is the same thing going to happen to Neiman now that he finally has a top 10 at a major? That, it's over. He did his work.
He just snuck in too, didn't he? Wasn't it like a T10?
Yeah, it was T8. Like,
yeah, that's what it was.
He got there, then everyone kind of fell back towards the end. Hell, I would play Hatton over Brooks.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thought, but I like the Fleetwood call that you went with, and we were both aligned early on it. So I think that's the way to go.
And I don't think that many, like, the whole point of using him is that I don't think that people will use him. Maybe they will now, who knows? But I can't imagine, like, given all of the options, even if this is what you had left, because this Straka Cantlay Hovland tier is pretty interesting. I'm just going to cross off Straka. I'll save him for the Open Championship if I need to. I've already bet him to win that as well. That number actually at CoolBet is still 100-1 if you want to go bet that right now and you like him over there. But if everyone's going to kind of burn the tank on him because they've run out of the top guys, they're thinking, like I am, that a lot of people are going to gravitate towards the live guys, that Straka might end up getting artificially boosted in the one and done.
Definitely possible. It's another way that people can get access to him where they don't like the number on him now, but they can just play him in one and done and pick up what they get there. But it's also interesting to me too that you just said that thing about the open. I don't know about you, but like if you bet him at any number at this event, wouldn't you go grab that number at the exact same time? Like what's going to change that much that you love him at Oakmont, but you won't like him at the open? I guess that's my thought process on it. Still a extremely tough field. Obviously it's a major, et cetera, but the number's even bigger. Like I'd still be fine with it.
Yeah, it's now almost quadruple the number at Portrush is what it's going to be at Oakmont. I have that bet from ages ago, but it's still available at CoolBet at 100-1. So yeah, if you do want it, it's still out there. I think some other sites are still hanging some pretty big numbers as well. I actually prefer him at Portrush to Oakmont, honestly.
That's what I mean. Like some people don't think like that though. I think like there's literally going to be someone that rushes to bet him right now at 35 or whatever the number is that they can get, hits it, doesn't come through, and then they wait till it gets bet down at the open, and then they're going to go hit that number too. It's like I would be looking to hit both immediately if you were in on him because you'd want to cover yourself. I know Feinberg talks about that sometimes, about sort of having that insurance piece, certain events on like a regular week event to a major the week after, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's somewhat interesting, but someone like Straka, like you said, it's almost quadruple now, triple at least, I should say, that you can get them at the open. So I'd run and get that one too.
Do you know who my 3 one and done picks were last week from just going through it?
Who do you have?
I had on the team show, like the one that we're talking about right now, I had Sam Burns, who came in second. On the team that was in 3900th place, I had Ryan Fox and moved up 1,300 points. And on my secondary team that's still in the money, I had Cam Young.
Beautiful week. Beautiful.
It's about as good of a. I wish I would have saved it for one that had a really high payout and not the Canadian Open.
Some of those, I mean, the first team, sure, but the other two teams, it's like you'll take whatever you can get. Those are huge increases, regardless. That's money. So yeah, I'm good with it.
So I like that's where I was for one and done. Didn't bet any of those guys and lost all my money.
Yeah, should have had the Ryan Fox bet for sure.
Yeah, I even tweeted about betting Ryan Fox and didn't bet him.
That's
such
what I mean.
An idiot.
Yeah, big mistake.
Let's go over to Underdog. Code Mayo at Underdog right now will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000 plus a free pick in the pick'em game. You know what I love for here, Tambo? It's easier to do on the app than it is on desktop because I actually have a tab for it on the mobile app. Is the make and miss the cut? You can dig into this right away. Some big names are going to miss the cut this week, right?
I think so.
Who would be the obvious ones? Because it won't be them. It'll be the ones who are the most popular ones at the top, like Bryson. Because I think that people will gravitate towards picking Rory to miss the cut. I like Wyndham Clark to miss the cut, and maybe like Justin Thomas.
It might be like your guy that we already talked about, though, like Sepp.
Yeah, but his odds aren't like extreme to miss the cut, which should be an indicator of what his chances of actually winning are.
That should tell you the other way then. Yeah, exactly. Good point. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it being like a Bryson, Scotty, Rory situation here.
No, neither do I. Like, who
and
would
if
be
people did it, they're going to put like Rory because, if you can't even make the cut at the Canadian Open, like that just reeks of the other side. So we'll see.
I'm trying to figure out how to play this. Maybe we can come up with something in round one. Do you think Scotty shoots par or better in round one? I do. I mean, I already talked about top 10 first round leader. I think that's a pretty good bet. So you can get juiced up odds for Scotty having a good Thursday on if he just shoots par or better. So his higher lower on Underdog right now is 70.5 strokes and it's 0.107. I'm good with going with that. Scotty crushes first rounds.
They already juiced the Rory number like 72.5 lower and turned off now. What's up with that?
Yeah, I see that too.
All right.
No longer available. Not great.
But going back though, scroll back up for a second. Why wouldn't we just take the
oh,
bet?
Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid. I'm glad you're here for this stuff. Like that didn't even occur to me to look at the bet that I've been talking about the entire time.
There we go.
And this
like if he shoots that if he's breaking par, it's going to be a good first day. Like I just don't see where that would happen, and it wouldn't be that. It doesn't mean it's correlated, but it clearly would seem pretty close at a course this difficult.
So what else can we do here? And that's first round leaderboard position of 10.5. So we'll make Scotty our anchor for this. Let's see if we can make a fun one. Is there anyone just straight up you do not like to make the cut?
Gosh, so tricky, man. Like that's going to be the thing about DFS this week that's exciting, but it's harder to pick it and just pick your guy. I'm not usually the best at that. What's sort of your thoughts on some of these guys in this range, like Cam Smith, Matt Fitzpatrick, Neiman, some of those dudes. Where are you at on them?
So someone like Cam Smith, and he's about even on both sides to make him miss the cut. There's no world I can see him making the cut in, but it's also Cam Smith, so he just might putt himself to the weekend, which is always, it'd be like taking Denny to miss the cut and be like, oh, he played horrible, but he led the field in putting, so of course he's there.
Yeah, I always look at it like that too. And to me, that's funny you said that, because it's like that just becomes in a void for me. I don't immediately go, well, oh, but if he could put the lights out, I better bet him to make the cut if others aren't, or if the odds are good. It becomes in a void, and then I'm on to the next thought.
I would think someone like Adam Scott, who just has played very mediocre golf all year long. Like, who are the guys being talked up on DraftKings? Sometimes that's a fun way that I try to think about it. So, like, favorite percentage, I'm on Fantasy National, favorite percentage, like Shane Lowry, Seb Straka, Harris English to miss the cut would be just spitting in the face of everyone this week. So, obviously, that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, that one would hurt. I think it's Lowry, Straka, Burns. Who else? Like,
English.
Neiman, English. You could put into that camp. And then
Neiman does not like starting out well in the first round of majors. That's usually where he buries himself.
So what are some of the other numbers on Neiman? See if we can pick something on him.
All right, let's find Neiman here. And in the chat, let me know in the live chat right now if there's anything like that sticks out to you. We've been able to do pretty well with these and finding the particular ones. Like I've already put out a bunch of to make and to miss the cut. That's my preferred play this weekend. If you live in a state that doesn't have like make and miss cut parlays at your sportsbook, get on Underdog and start making them because it's a ton of fun.
What about the worst 20.5? That's the whole tournament.
I wanted to make like a round one. I mean, Blickel came on last week and said this is the single best market that you can play on Underdog, the worse than 20.5 market.
Yeah.
So we just go higher than 72.5 strokes for Neiman. If he shoots 3 over, he'll probably still be T27 after the first round, and we still win.
It's going to be part of the same process, so that works. I didn't see a number on that. It's interesting. No number shows until you click it, and now we see it looks like it's at what, 4.1x?
Yeah, 4.1x. So we can just play those two, but let's get greedy here.
Yeah, we got to get a third one on there for sure.
Who else I would almost rather target a guy that I don't think that will do well. Like, I know he's like wearing America swim shorts out on the course, but Jason Day, 73.5. Dude hasn't played in a month.
Yeah, I don't like that one.
Okay, take that out.
I don't know. We'll talk about him later, I'm sure, but I think there's a possibility. What about Bobby Mack or Reed? Those are two other guys there that stand out.
Bobby Mack or Reed to do what, though? To be bad in the first round?
Whatever your feeling is on them. I'm just saying we're talking about names that kind of were popular or favorited or that. Those two stand out more than some of their. What are the Ben Griffin numbers?
Do you like Ben Griffin this week?
I don't know. I mean, this guy is playing.
No one's on him.
Playing extremely well, and then no one's on him. That's what I was going to say. So I'm sure in DraftKings, that's going to lead to him getting in there for some leverage. But, man, I could also see where it's not that great. Like these numbers, 73.5 are just big numbers still for these guys. I know they're maybe not. Maybe that's, the first day is crazy and these are all wrong and they should be 75.5. I don't know. But I don't know. Pick on like is there anybody that's a lower than 10.5 round one? What was Mav McNeely's lower on 10.5?
Mav McNeely's lower on 10.5 is 3.6. You like Mav McNeely?
I was going to say they only have better. That's it. They don't give you the opposite side. I was looking for the opposite side.
Yeah. They're only giving you the better market.
There is no higher or lower. It's better, and you can only take better. So yeah,
I could see Aaron Rye shooting better than 73.5 in the first round. He's the type of steady player that will just shoot 72 every single day and be +8 at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, there we go. Let's see if we have any boosts to use. There's nothing to see here, Pat. You've used all your boosts. So this pays 8.35 to 1. It's Scotty Scheffler better first round or top 10 in the first round, 1.19. Neiman higher than 72.5 strokes in round one, and Aaron Rye lower than 73.5 strokes in round one. Let's see if it'll let me play from my location. You can also do the flex play on this as well. We're not for the purposes of this. We'll just try to win $835. See how it goes. Boom. I can share and earn, and you can do that and help me out by using code Mayo at Underdog right now to get yourself into it if you want to go through it. Justin brings up Russell Henley. I actually like Russell Henley as well. I like Russell Henley this week.
Yes, I'm good with that as well. I think that's fine. He's 7,400 when we get to DraftKings, and he's right there with like Strzok. He's just below Straka, Lowry, just above Burns, some of those like Corey Connors, those guys. So I think Henley is a guy that you could fit in there. He'll probably get to like 10%, 12%, that range.
Can we get odds on someone going triple figures at some point, 100 plus, if the wind gets up and starts raining? Maybe the dentist won't break 100.
I don't know if it exists. It'd be an exotic. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm guessing it's out there somewhere that you can
ask your local sports book if they will give you odds on that.
But if you think it's that, like, just load up all your money on the over 87.5 or 88.5, whatever it was, because then you got all the possibilities and many more strokes on your side. So just pile on more money to it to make it work.
All right, I want to jump over to DraftKings and talk ownership with you before we start getting in to what the chalk build is going to be. Because, you better believe there's another ad coming up. I'm squeezing every cent at a major week. But I do want to get to this part first because we've kind of talked around it. I'm looking at RIP James, but this is the best bit of advice that he ever gave me about how to use this tool is look at favorite percentage more than anything, because you will see how at least people want to build their lineups. Whether they can actually get there or not will be surprising. And you kind of hit it on the head. Scotty and Bryson are right around the same number. Like, people are trying to jam them in together. And I do you think there's a world where Bryson ends up higher owned than Scotty?
Yes.
I agree. And what do you think that number is, though? That it'd be like Bryson's 35, Scotty 34?
It's right now, Bryson's being projected at, say, 27 to 30 right now, and Scotty's being projected around 33 to 35. I think it's Scotty comes down to 30 and Bryson goes up. And you see like a 33-30 or a 32-30. They could be very similar. I'm just saying I don't see an 8 to 10 point delta on them when all is said and done.
Well, you also have to think about how the rest of the lineup goes, too, because the next two guys with the most favorites next to them are Lowry, Straka, and English. Then if you can find, if let's say you put those three with Scotty and then those three with Bryson and try to figure out how the rest of the team looks, I think then you'll get a better sense of how people are going to build.
So we did this yesterday, and it's an easy exercise, actually. Scotty and English is the same price. You actually have $100 left over in the Scotty English as Bryson Rahm. I don't care what anybody says, what ownership or favorite says. If you have a group of 1,000 people picking and it's Scotty and English or Bryson and Rahm, they're going to be way more likely to go Bryson Rahm. And then the extra added caveat, Pat, is that you can also play English in the Bryson Rahm lineups. You know the difference? Like, you can't play the Scotty, Bryson Rahm English, but you can play 3 of the 4 with Bryson Rahm English. So that to me just says more Bryson. And then that's where I get my whole thought process from.
So if you do it that way, so I just put it up here. It's Rahm, Bryson, Lowry, English, Straka leaves you 66, which is Scott, Denny, Poston, or Cam Young, Ben Ann, Pendrith, Harmon, Davis Thompson, Aaron Rye.
Yeah.
That seems like a pretty common build right there.
It is. That's way more likely than if you go with Scotty, Straka, Lowry, English, because then you're on like Pendrith and a $6,900 golfer. That'll still be popular because someone can just plug in Bobby Mack or JJ Spawn or whoever they decide there, Daniel Berger, whatever it is, Patrick Reed maybe. Right there would be a similar build. If you go round that out with Reed and Pendrith, that's who people are talking about. But that's my whole point. Of these two lineups, I would suspect way more people play the first one that you posted.
I would agree. It just seems so much because we're thinking about win equity, we're thinking about finishing position, and people will talk themselves into Bryson and Rahm combined having a better chance to win than Scotty, and they're probably not wrong.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think is going to happen. It's going to be that situation. It doesn't mean the other way can't work. It just really validates why I think the Bryson ownership is going to keep moving up as the day goes on. So
I think it actually ends up looking more like this. I mean, this is how I would play if I was going to play this chalky of a lineup. It wouldn't be Pendrith and Reed. It would be Keegan and a 6K guy.
Oh, Pendrith is a 6K guy, but not exactly.
No, it needs to be like at 6K.
Oh, yeah. Probably Olsen.
You think Olsen? Oh, your boy Vic Perez is there.
Yeah, it's whoever you think, but I mean, that seems the most likely to me for...
I like Nico Echeverria in that range. He fits exactly what I want out of someone who I don't think will hold up for 4 days, but you pray that his good round that he's going to have happens round 1 or round 2. He's actually, I'm not betting him first round leader. I think he's actually a very intriguing first round leader bet because he hits a ton of fairways. He goes nuclear with his putter and he can go nuclear with his irons. He just needs it all to match up on one of the days, and then he's making the cut, and he's actually scoring for you from $5,900, and just hope he's not, the guy who shoots 89 on the weekend.
Yeah, that's what this is all about, and that's what you're talking about now and looking at. But it's like this lineup is, to me, it's just not going to play very well in something like the $25 Millie Maker because we're just so cornered in on the first 4 picks. Keegan will still get some love. It's like your only leverage point is Nico. And for me, I'm just happy to take the Nico first round leader with each way, like you talked about, or take a Nico, bet for the tournament or something like that you want for the whole thing. But that to me is how it stands out more than building a lineup like this. These lineups are really not looking too good on paper to me.
So 2 of the guys that I really like this week and 2 guys that I think are going to get inflated ownership in the 5K range when we go down. Matt McCarty being one of them, Emiliano Grillo. They'll probably come in at 6% owned at most, probably lower than that in the 25. But the guys next to them are legitimately going to be 0.2%.
Yeah, I see Grillo, McCarty, and then a little bit on Gotterup at 5,400.
Yeah, I mean, Gotterup's actually a pretty good shout. People are, just to use like the favorite type thing, Jordan Smith, Vic Perez, Sam Stevens, Steven Jager's at 6,000 even. Olison's there, who you mentioned. I think we'll get a little bit of love, but yeah, that's really it. Gotterup is popping a little bit as well. And then when we get to that bottom of the 6K range, Collie and Gerard are there. They seem to be the first 2 clicks that people are going with. Davis Riley, Nick Taylor, Andrew Novak, and then Aaron Rye at $6,400. I think we'll overshoot whatever projection people have him at.
Yeah, agreed. Pendrith and Rye are the 2 at 65, 64. English, Bobby Mack are there. Spawn even at 67. And then you go up from there. But yeah, the thing is though, so I said off the top of the show, now I can get to it because we made it to DraftKings, is the pricing's atrocious because and we all play the same stuff and I get it, but the Scotty number didn't fix anything because they broke everything else. They put, how many guys do we have? 4 guys in the 9K range and like 5 in the 8K range. It just doesn't even make any sense because it pushed all the normal 9K guys and 8K guys into the 7s, which pushes all the good 7K players into the 6s, and the high 6s and 7s are completely loaded. So you can play whatever you want. Like even last week is a bad example because Rory missed the cut. But when Rory was going to be that popular, you could easily play him with 5 guys down below. You can do that with Scotty, even though he's at 14.4. It's completely artificial because the rest of the pricing doesn't bear out to match. The rest of the pricing just got eliminated and pushed everybody down a level. And when you have the 5K range, you already got better golfers in the 6s. Now you've got the double of the 5K range and nobody in the 8s and 9s. So you can get to whoever you want, Scotty, Bryson, Rory, Xander, Rahm, mixture of 2 of them, whatever you want to do, you can build.
Single-digit players from $7,000 and up. So I'm going to list off the guys that I have projected that way or think they're going to finish in the single digits in terms of ownership in the $25. And you tell me who your favorite is. I mean, and you can't say Sung Jae. Wyndham Clark, Sung Jae, Min Woo, and Matt Fitzpatrick, Cam Smith, Tony Finau from that low 7K. I don't think that Spieth is going to get 10%. I don't think Hatton's going to get to 10%. Hideki and Brooks most definitely will not. Hovland will be right on the fringes. Justin Thomas is going to be a single-digit player. And I think that Rory and or Xander, one of those 2 will hit single digits as well.
Yeah, Finau for sure. Even fine with, like you said, like Hatton, Spieth, some of those guys. These are guys, Hideki, in tournaments, I'm playing these guys. They surround Lowry and Straka that we're just given the tournament to in this spot. And chalk does do well at the US Open, but to me, the chalk that's good is up top. Like it makes sense why Bryson is as owned as he is at 11K. It makes sense how you can get to Scotty at 14.4, the best player in the world, and that just is what it is. All that stuff adds up to me. It's the stuff when you get a little bit lower, and we used to talk about this all the time, Pat, like in the 6K range, but this is part of this. The 7s are the new 6s. There's not really anybody in the 6K range outside of maybe English, Cam Young, couple of these spots where you're like, okay, maybe they'll get a little bit insane. And really, to be honest, that will be a lot trickier to balance in like the higher stakes, smaller field stuff. The 44-44 Mega Milli, the 3180 or 2750, whatever they're running for like the high stakes guys this week. That's where you'll have to think about that a lot more. When those guys are 8 to 12%, you can still figure your way around them in these tournaments, finding leverage, using things in your favor. But for me, I think there's a ton of guys around like Lowry and Straka that you can still get to and mix up your pool that way and even put them together with those guys to differentiate where most are making a pivot decision. You could sort of combo up some of these spots and get different that way.
Well, coming back after the break, that is exactly what we're going to do. So smash a like and stay tuned. I want you to think about two things. One, what makes your father... I want you to think about two things. One, what makes your father special? Number two, what makes all fathers the same? The answer to number two is that they are impossible to buy Father's Day gifts for. Who knows what your dad needs? But I can tell you one thing that the vast majority, almost all of fathers enjoy: steak. Barbecuing. It's perfect. When it comes to Father's Day, some things never change. A recent survey shows 75% of Americans agree there's no better way to spend Father's Day than grilling with the family. So, shop omahasteaks.com and give your dad the legendary Heartland quality he deserves. Plus, my listeners get an extra $35 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. Omaha Steaks has been America's original butcher since 1917. A family-owned company with over 100 years of expertise in the meat industry. They also carry mouth-watering burgers, chicken, pork, seafood, dessert, and easy-to-prepare comfort food. This Father's Day, give Dad the world's best steak experience with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for a guaranteed perfect gifts that deliver legendary quality. For an extra $35 off, use promo code MAYO at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com and an extra $35 off with promo code MAYO at checkout. See site for details. Are you feeling stuck in your daily wellness routine? You're not alone on that. Our friends at Cornbread Hemp hear you. Yes, they're listening and they hear you. Their organic CBD gummies are made to help you feel better, whether it's stress, poor sleep, or just needing a moment to unwind, because Lord knows we should be taking more moments to unwind. CBD might be just what you need to level up your daily routine. Cornbread Hemp uses only the best of the hemp plant, the flower, for the purest, most potent CBD. No fillers, no junk, just full spectrum goodness. And right now, Pat Mayo Experience listeners can save 30% off your first order. Just head to cornbread.com/PatMayo and use code PatMayo at checkout. That's cornbreadhemp.com/PatMayo and use code PatMayo. The Travelers Championship, the Northeast one and only PGA Tour signature event. Can it surpass the excitement of last year's thrilling finale when Scottie Scheffler broke away from the loaded leaderboard with 3 straight birdies in the back 9 during the final round, leading to a dramatic one-hole playoff with Tom Kim winning him his 6th PGA Tour victory of the year? Will Scottie repeat as champion? Come watch as the world's best PGA Tour players try to dethrone him. All of them competing all 4 days at TPC River Highlands. The action begins June 19th and runs through June 22nd. For tickets and information, visit TravelersChampionship.com to see the greats, including Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Ludwig Oberg, and the rest. The Travelers Championship. There is only one. We've built some chalk lineups, what we think people are going to do. Let's figure out what we want to do, Tambo. There is a question in the chat already that says, how do you adjust picks when playing cash games, head-to-head, small groups, or with friends? Just don't do those. Try to play for $1 million. Way easier.
That's always the way, right? Try and win all the money. No, but there's certainly something to it. I talk about it a ton over at Ship It Nation, especially with the Mastermind project, but there's a lot of focus on contest selection, and that's excellent. That's where you should start. Bankroll management, contest selection is sort of stage one. But the other thing is lineup selection. And there's definitely, like those lineups we just built, Pat, usually I'd be like, oh, I'm just going to throw them in because of FOMO. Not playing those this week. I didn't even save them to my thing. There's just no chance. And I should do that every week. But obviously some weeks we're like, let's just throw these into something. I have no FOMO if those lineups hit, because it would literally be a 30-way chop for the Millie Maker, like a 40-way chop. And everyone's, oh, you're scoffing at that money. No, I'm just saying I'm playing to have the highest chance of success rate to win it all. So I'm just not even thinking about those. When you're playing a cash game or a head-to-head, you're kind of building those lineups like Pat and I just built. What are the lineups that line up the most? Don't worry about the ownership as much, but still give you a bit of an angle in. Against your friends, obviously you could look for some strategy. If you know what everybody's doing, you kind of want to be able to leverage that. And that's what some of the tools and trainings and things like that do for you when you can go in and see, I have a feeling or I know. And that's what I always say to people with PGA DFS, you do know probably the most of any other sport. I think it's a lot more accurate ownership than some of the other sports that we play, even though there's usually 2 or 3 golfers off. But you have a lot of information going in. When you know, the more you know going in, the more you can go against it and play for an advantage. So that's sort of what I would say to that.
Yeah, this question is sort of unanswerable on a live show while we're also trying to make picks. DFSmastermind.com with Tambo says where you want to go for hour-long conversations about this with multiple videos about specifically what you want. I highly recommend that you check it out. What I just threw up on the screen right now for you, Tambo, is the first lineup that I built, the one that I wanted to build this week. It's a Scotty Bryson lineup. How often do you think that Scotty and Bryson are going to be paired together?
Not as much as I originally thought. I think it's the Bryson Rahm one just blows everything away, but I think enough people will try this. What I will say, and you and I had a good conversation. Sometimes our pre-show conversations are great to leak into these shows because we talk a little bit of strategy or thoughts about the week or gives us some ideas. And what you did here is what I recommend people do. If you're really in on the Scotty Bryson lineups and you love the look of this, then by all means get after it. But I don't think you're going crazy with it, Pat. This is your favorite picks with Bryson that just happened to favorite long shots with Bryson that just happened to land you perfectly on Scotty. Bravo. That's great. I think you're probably pretty good at this point versus building a bunch more of choose your own adventure with those two and just hoping to get it right down low.
I think this, I guess I told you before, I'm not going to make that many lineups this week. So I could see myself making 20, locking in Scotty and Bryson, and then just picking these 4 guys plus another 8 from this range and just mixing and matching them all.
That's definitely fine. I mean, that's certainly the way to go. If you play lighter, play tighter. You're playing lighter in the sense that could be your bankroll you're playing, or it could be the amount of lineups in your case, or it could be both. You could be playing less money and less lineups, and therefore you should play tighter at that point because you want more opportunity to be able to find your way to the top. And if you get Bryson right, and you are correct, which is obviously a very high likelihood this week, it looks like a great spot for Bryson. That's going to allow you to have the most chances of getting the right stuff around him. So I think you're building, perfectly correct, if you will.
And then I turned that lineup just to see what it would look like into a Bryson Rory lineup. I have no interest in playing. I like Rahm enough. I don't have much interest in playing Bryson with Rahm. I would rather play Bryson with Scotty or Rory and move on from there.
And I don't hate that call either. Like, again, people looking at, is there plenty of ways to get different with Bryson and Rahm? Yes, because even with their high ownership and high combination value of those two being put together, high combination percentage, you can get a ton of 5% or less owned picks in there, but not many people are going through and building that way or have the tools to be able to make that happen. So what ends up happening is they just can't get past that third option or that fourth option being popular. So yeah, I'm with you. If you want to just to set it up that way where you don't get any Bryson Rahms and just avoid that happening and hope that doesn't go the way that you need, that would be another way you could get around it as well.
So someone just brought up in the chat that I don't see enough scrubs getting there for Scotty and Bryson builds. Got to pick one or the other. I highly disagree, especially at U.S. Opens.
I think it's hard because I agree, but also not sure like the con. Let me say my thoughts and you'll pick it apart. But I'll say you need that to happen first of all, which is not that unlikely that Scotty and Rory are battling at a major, especially at the U.S. Open. It's certainly possible. We've seen plenty of these situations where Rory Bryson or whatever that might be, but you are then playing the game of it. Can they get there to your point where you disagree and enough can get there? Yes. Will you have enough combinations or the right combinations to get it there and need it? Remember, in tournaments, it's like, especially in PGA DFS, while you may be hunting for the optimal lineup, nobody's finding it. And they never are. They're always way off, especially compared to other more projectable sports. So it's more beating what you're going up against. And I just don't know how many people are going to have I don't think there's going to be enough Scotty Brysons to have to beat them to then also have to find the right pieces around it and play and commit to that. So I'm not super high on them for that reason, but I'm not disagreeing with you that there's enough guys that could get there. Do people even have anywhere near that though? In the end, I don't know if it'll be needed.
So let's try to build a good Scotty lineup and see what that would take. So 14-4, we're left with 7,100 remaining. per player. The want is going to be like the Scott. What do you think the Scotty Harris English correlation is going to be? 80%?
High, yeah. I mean, it's going to be not, I don't know if that high, but it's all, what do we have the week of, what was Schmid's good week? Who was he in with? Scotty?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, that was massive. I think it was like 65% of the Schmid lineups were Scotty lineups, if not higher. So, you could definitely see Scotty English be up there, but it leaves you 72-25. And this is just another prime example where I just don't know, man. Like, okay, Connors, Burns, a couple more 7K guys, sure, you can get to it, or add a 6K and move up in the sevens. But these builds are not really getting you off, much once you put some of the other chalk pieces in there. So not super high on even that starting point, but definitely think that's the way people go with this line.
So what should we do? There are 4 guys in this field, excluding live guys, because their numbers are super wonky when we're looking at stats, that rate inside the top 50 in distance and accuracy. Gerard, Scotty, Keegan, and JJ Spawn are those 4. We just throw those four guys in a lineup and see how that works.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that, because I'll explain more in a second. But I'm fine with the names you mentioned enough to continue with the exercise. So what is it? It's Spawn, Gerard, and Keegan?
Keegan, yeah.
And how much is Gerard again? I forget off the top of my head.
6,100.
There he is. Yeah. Hey, shit. That's funny. It lands you on like
Lowry Straka.
Lowry, basically. You're actually $100 off. But yeah, it's you could make it work. My point being, this is what I'm talking about, though. I would not want those guys in there. I don't care what your model says. I don't care what the betting odds said. I don't care if they are the best plays before, after, whatever. It's just not how I would want to build this. The reason I said, my case of being able to carry on with the exercise and saying it that way is just from a teaching standpoint. Like, I would want this to be the setup. Like, you've got 3 guys in Bradley, Gerard, and Spawn that there's enough people talking about them, Pat, but are they really going to click them and play them? No. Therefore, they're sub 10% guys. I would want to round it out with another sub 10% guy. You've probably got it there with Denny. Okay. And then I love that you landed on Fleetwood. And this is a different way to go, because you only have one 7K guy. Not many lineups are going to have that. You don't have English as your 6K guy, but you also have 3 6K guys. And then even if Fleetwood does get a little bit of steam, which I suspect he will, let's say Fleetwood gets to 15, 16% here. That's fine, because Scotty could actually come down some. Scotty could go from 33, 35 down to 30. And then the other guys are all sub 10%. I like this lineup way better. And of note, this doesn't project that far off from those other builds that we looked at early on.
How willing are you to go into the 5Ks?
I'm willing to do a lot of things. I don't know if it's required as much as need be, but if I'm doing it, it's probably one guy, and it's probably just to make a random style of lineup work. So let's say we did plug, who's your 5K guy you want to use here? Let's do this.
I like Matt McCarty. I like Nico.
Sure.
Like, there's actually a few guys that I do like, so I'm not too concerned about it. But let's take Spawn out and throw in Matt McCarty. Then we take Fleetwood out, and now we have Morikawa.
Right. This is why you can look at it and see. Now, I would still be changing something here, but you already went to Morikawa. But
okay, well, we can change whatever.
Let's go. Let's keep Scotty. Let's keep Denny. And let's keep
McCarty.
Gerard.
We got to keep McCarty because it's 57. We said to build with the 57 or $55,000 guy.
Oh, sorry. Just 1 second. I thought I had him already. I'm saying keep. My bad. I'm saying keep Scotty, McCarty, McCarthy, and Gerard. It leaves you 8,600.
Okay. You get like Neiman Hovland if you wanted to.
Just another problem with this pricing.
Yeah, well, there's so few. Like, it's going to be really hard unless you build this specific way. Hence why I actually think that Lowry and Straka end up more owned than they're projected for, because you literally can't get to these other guys in the 8Ks and low 9s.
So I guess better example, because this is disgusting, and it's just this is the problem why I said the Scotty thing didn't fix anything. And again, we all play with the same stuff. But here's an example. Pull Scotty right now, and here's how you build this lineup. Go back up.
Bryson, Rahm.
Xander, Rahm. So now you went Bryson, Rahm, but you have a 5K guy nobody has. You have 2 low-owned 6Ks. You have Xander. Who has a middleman with Bryson and Rahm? Nobody. And you play none of the 9. Don't even count the 9s and 8s here, because we know that's bullshit with 9 guys. But the 7K range is massive, and you've completely skipped it. This is the way to incorporate it. If you're doing it, it has the same projection as the lineup we just ran, the previous one to this.
It's really interesting.
But you see, there's concepts. It's not about the plays. These are just the plays we chose. Whoever's in your pool, you can build a lineup like this. You can go change. I don't. But these guys are idiots. They're going to play McCarty. Oh, what a bunch of dumb. Then pick your guy. Go play your dude. It's not about that. It's breaking it up to make it make sense. 3 of these guys, and probably Xander, are all under 10%. 4 of them, including a top dog. But while everyone else is playing Bryson Rom and 7K guys, you have no 7K guys, and you are putting a middleman between Bryson and Rom, which nobody else has in Xander. Will it work? No idea. Could it be horrible? Yes. Is it strategic? And is there a reason it makes sense? Yes. And it still projects very well.
This range sucks. This Brooks, Hideki, Lowry, Straka, because I was going to see if we could go Bryson, Rory, and someone else. We can, instead of doing Xander, Rom, because I didn't like playing. I mean, if we play Bryson with Rom and Xander's in there as well, that could make a ton more sense. But if you go Bryson, Rory, you do have $8,200 left, unless you do downgrade somewhere else. You can get yourself to Fleetwood pretty easily if you lose Denny.
Well, I like same thing again. This is where I know you got Bryson locked, so it's tough. But I'd rather have like Rory Rom and get JT in there, or Rory Rom Fleetwood, and these again still project just as good. And you're splitting up Rom Bryson at that point, but you're getting Rory and Fleetwood mixed in with your scrubs. And again, people are going to focus on the scrubs. Pick your own scrubs. Find your own guys down there. But it's just noting of it's all about roster construction in this example. Like the Rory Rom Fleetwood lineup includes no 7Ks again, for example, and you could actually still almost get to
you can get to Justin Thomas if you want.
Right. You can get
if there's ever a way to deploy, is he this much? Yeah. If you really wanted to deploy Harris English, this is the lineup to do it in.
Well, yeah, you could pull McCarthy. You could move things around pretty easily at this point to make it work.
I'll throw in Spawn. He's my favorite of those guys in the top 6s. The top 6,000.
Let's go to Spawn. I just want to see.
I played Gerard in a lot of these. I can mix and match Gerard in and out with. I mean, I love Bridgman. He's going to be like, if you want the 1% guy from the low 6s, it's Bridgman for me.
So what's that do for us?
Nothing. It just gets you Spawn, Bridgman, McCarty with Fleetwood, Rory, and Rom.
Yeah, what about a Bryson, Rom, Morikawa with Gerard, McCarthy, and Bridgman? And McCarthy could also be Spawn.
Let's see. You said Bryson?
You'd get Bryson and Rom, but you'd add Morikawa to the bunch. Again, most people stop at those 2 and then skip way down. When you're skipping the 7K range like this for these other guys down low, Spawn could be a real dude. And then it's really just if Gerard and Bridgman can make the cut and come through. You've bet Bridgman to make the cut, and you've got Gerard as a, whatever you've packaged him in as there with the one condom, like you said. So, I mean, this lineup projects better than some of those ones we had previous because you're getting 3 guys up top, and that can outweigh too with those position placement points. Just a made cut on those other guys could be huge. We've seen 5 of 6s contend at US Opens in big boy tournaments, like $100 Millie Maker one year. The year Bryson won at Winged Foot, I think I came in 17th place in the $100 Millie Maker with a 5 of 6, and it was the highest 5 of 6 that year. So it just tells you there's opportunity at these events. You need these guys to come through. If Rom, Bryson, and Kawa come through, that's certainly a way to make it happen.
So I put in Spawn, Bridgman, and Bud Cully because Cully's another one of those low 6s. Because I said I'm just going to mix and match a lot of these guys. Because you kind of pointed out, like, how bad do you think that this sort of lineup is? Because you had made mention before, it's not that chalk doesn't do well at the U.S. Open. It's just usually the very high-end chalk that does well. So Let's just stick with some high-end chalk and just rotate the other pieces, see what happens.
Way more comfortable with that. The premium example you just put up, Pat, is with Rom Bryson, is you went back to the Xander thing that I talked about, where you're using the guy sandwiched between the highest starting combo to really separate it. But then you're getting 3 6K guys in there that aren't the worst. Gerard, Colley, and Bridgman. Again, people will say you're an idiot. They're terrible. But that's, those same people probably are arguing a lot of different things. I'm not here to argue. I'm just explaining concepts and theories. That's the point when you go to lineups like this, is if those 3, and even this one like here that you have up, another good one, right? Bryson, Rom, Kawa, Spawn, all fine plays. If those other 2 just make the cut, that could be enough to put you in a position over the weekend if those other 3 or 4 are way up there. So it's things like that I'm looking at when I'm building.
So here's who I have highlighted for myself from this 7,000 and below. Spawn, Rye, Glover, Gerard, Colley, Pavon, Nico, Griot, and Matt McCarty. So I think that some combination of those 8 guys for 3 spots with those top guys is how I'm going to play this.
That's exactly it. You're building for those top guys to get there for you and do their thing, and that will allow for it to happen. That's actually interesting. You said that. I just put together quick thoughts of everything you said. Load this one in for yourself. It's a non-Bryson, but I think you'll like it. It's Spawn, Rye, Glover, Gerard.
Rory and Scotty?
No, Scotty Rahm, which is different than the Bryson Rahm and not the Scotty Bryson.
Matt McCarty. Let's swap Matt McCarty for Griot in this one.
I went with Aaron. I went with Glover, is who you mentioned. The order you mentioned, the first 4, fit perfectly with those 2. Just of note, I didn't have Griot in there, but yeah, you can do whatever you want. That's just an example.
Oh yeah, Glover fits perfectly too. Yeah, you're right.
How much do you need
to get to Rory? A lot.
No, it's $100 short.
Weirdly, like if you're gonna play Scotty, this is the way you were trying to get to Bryson.
I got it now for you. Your better version that you're gonna like.
Is it just Spawn to McCarty?
No, Scotty Bryson keeps you with Spawn, Colley, Gerard, Griot.
Spawn, Colley, Gerard, Griot.
So you're taking a Ryan Glover for Gerard, Griot.
Hey, there we go. Gerard. Now I can't remember who it was. Say them again. Oh, Colley.
Yeah. You're $2 $100 guys with the guy you just were going to consider at $5,700, and this still has no real chalk in it outside of those top 2 guys.
Yeah, and that's where I want the chalk to be. I'm just wondering now that obviously I'm going to play the Scotty lineups. I'm going to try to pair him with Bryson as much as possible, but you kind of sold me on this no Scotty, but a combination of 3 of the top guys with the low guys. That is it better to have the 2 and 4 duds or the 3 and 3?
Right. And that's the other thing about that though. Like it's kind of the version I showed you is what I would prefer. You can still get around it. Like if you wanted to go Bryson, Rahm, Fleetwood, it's just then you land on 6,700 basically, and you know people are going to go to English and the popular guys. So I'd be looking more at like 3 of Ludwig or JT and above with those other guys.
Sure. No, I'm just thinking about the concept itself, because here you have, this is basically saying, I think Scotty is going to win. Therefore, I need to have him in. If Scotty comes 3rd, I think you can get away with having the 3 chalk guys at the top. If it's Bryson, Rahm, Morikawa, Fleetwood, whoever it might be, but 3 of those guys with the potential to come with a win and come inside the top 5 versus only 3 scrubs. Where here, you're saying Scotty wins, you're saying Bryson comes in 2nd, and these other 4 guys do pretty well. At least now you don't have 4 guys in the other lineup. You only have the 3 guys who are duds in the other lineup that you need to do something.
Right. The other way, though, Pat, now that you said that, I mean, I agree 100%. The other way, though, that this gets there is something along these lines where you have like a Bryson, let's just do Bryson Straka for a second, which sounds weird, but it's saying like, listen, these are the pieces of chalk that I'm going to commit to, Bryson and Straka in a lineup, because you're locking Bryson, so it already makes sense. But now you're playing for made cuts, a little bit of upside and position placement points. And I'm just going to give you the 4 I filled it out with, and you can change them up, but put in Justin Thomas at 9K. And then you fill it out with Hatton, Henley, and Finau.
Oh.
And so
Cuss picked to win, Tony Finau.
Right. Now, the thing about this lineup is you still have 2 chalk pieces for sure in Straka and Bryson. But Straka, to most people, when he's getting near 30 to 1 now, they feel like that's just a misprice. We saw it with who was it last week? Cam Young, right? Everyone all of a sudden predicted Cam Young would be a good week. He's his highest owned in forever and has his best result in forever. It was just that sort of thing. So Straka could be that guy, but not many are playing Justin Thomas. Not many are playing, or not near enough can be playing these 7K guys. So you're using the 7K range, you're not using Straka, Lowry, English, Rahm. You're using JT, Hatton, Henley, Finau, no 6s, no 5s, no 8s, no Scotty, no Rory, like no Rahm. This still makes sense the other way. And some of this stuff could be good for like single entry because you've got good floor, good ceiling, some chalk. And to be honest, Thomas, Henley, Finau, even Hatton, these are guys that some people are mentioning, but they're just never going to get to the number in ownership because there's not a way to play everybody. So that's kind of how I think about that.
Hey, we got about 10 minutes for people's questions. If they have them, populate them into the chat right now. That'd be very helpful. This guy didn't even ask a question. He just says, I like IPAs. Well, that sucks because that means no one likes you, pal. Give your head a shake. Kent Davis says, see you guys in the $200 single entries. I like the 250, the 4max 250. I play it as a single entry. I like the payout structure of that tournament.
Yeah, it's up to 30 this week. I lobby for that more than most. I get it. Like I love the 10% of the prize pool goes to first, 10% of first goes to 10th. But actually, I think the 254 max does a great job of a little bit more to first than 10%, but still paying out just enough with a good enough structure that you don't feel like you got extremely punished if you come in fourth and you're like, damn, I was that close. It still feels good enough. So I really like that structure quite a bit. And I love your call. You can certainly play it as one lineup, even though others have you covered, because it's just you're out of your bankroll to play the 1,000, or you're not comfortable playing more. Just build accordingly, knowing that others have you with 4 to 1. That's all.
Yeah, you just have to remember. You saw how I want to build anyway. No one's duping me over here.
Yeah, you're good.
Which weirdly has paid great dividends. And I'll lose 3 weeks in a row, and it sucks to watch 250 just evaporate when you come near last. But then I'll just spike and come in ninth and win 20 weeks worth of it. So I'm not too concerned about it.
Yeah, I agree. And it's even the week with the big showdown week, like you left thousands on the table in a showdown round. And that's a question that comes up all the time as well about leaving salary.
Would you rather play Lowry and Straka together and one of Cully Gerard, or Henley and Keegan and one of Bobby Mack or Berger? Like, this is the quadruple condom build right here.
This is go sell something that you need money from and build 4 lineups. Like just the 1v1, v1, v2, 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 v2. Like, this is terrible. If anyone knew the answer to that, they're already a billionaire and they just are winning every week and you don't need to know it. No one knows that. It's built around your lineup, your roster construction. That's why we went through that just 5 minutes ago, trying to show you the difference of what I always say. It's not who you play, it's how you play them. The answer really depends on what the rest of your lineup looks like, your risk tolerance, all these other factors. I don't know, Pat, give them the picks you like the best, I guess would be the way to go, or go off projections, build a process, whatever you want to do.
But these are all like the chalkiest ways to build. Because you know who the other guys going in this lineup are going to be. It's going to be Scotty and English. And it was the first lineup that we built because everyone's using some combination of these guys.
Yeah, that's the thing. These questions have to be like, hey, Pat, hey, Tambo, I'm playing in the $5 150 max. I'm putting 50 lineups in there this week, and I'm thinking about this for my portfolio. I get it. People want the picks. So, that's a tougher one for me to answer and not really where I stem from.
What about starting with Morikawa? How much of a leverage will be leaving all the live guys out of the player pool as well? I mean, outside of Bryson and Rahm, those are the 2 live guys that everyone's gravitating towards. I suppose there'd be leverage there. But starting with Morikawa, I feel like you're leaving too much on the table.
Yeah, it projects super well. If you go I just built a quick one. It's super chalk, but it's like Morikawa, Fleetwood, Neiman, Lowry, Straka, Connors, or whatever. That projects off the page, but you're leaving out the big
guys who will win the tournament.
Yeah. That's the betting cards when Scotty just wins and dusts everybody. It's like, that's the whole point, right?
Just play this as a top 30 parlay.
Something like that would probably make a lot more sense. It's really tricky with the everything involved. But yeah, I think in a higher dollar, smaller field, stuff like that, if you want to take a shot, or if you have a 3 max, that's a smaller field, or a satellite where there's 2 entries and you want to run one like that and one without, you can most certainly do that if you want.
Which of the 9K golfers and above are more likely to miss the cut? I don't know. I'll say Rory and Justin Thomas are the obvious examples of this week, I think. But that means they're probably going to both be great.
Yeah, it's if you're looking at just last week's results, it's Rory, but then remembering that it's Rory. So
it's not last week.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, that's it. There's nobody in the 9Ks and above. There's 4 guys. So it's tricky. Nobody's talking about Cantlay or really Ludwig either. And I think both of those guys, again, not going to be my first guy into the lineup, but I think there is stacking them in with some of those guys up top, adding them into your 3-man shots that like you talked about, Pat, like Bryson, Ludwig with somebody else, that could definitely be a way. And you still land in that, range you can get different in.
Yeah. JB says, Pat, what is your handicap? I can go look this up right now. I think it's 8.5. But it's thrilling stuff here. You can answer. It seems that leaving salary on the table is much easier since they all slid the salaries down. For the big five, would you leave $1,000 on the table, Tambo?
No, I mean, you could definitely do it, but I just don't think I need. I'll probably end up being like 49.4 or 49. That's art, not science. That's just whatever you feel. But that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, 8.2 is my current handicap based on my 21 rounds from this year. So that's where I'm sitting at. Need it to get lower. I mean, if I'm going to play some member guess, I probably need to get higher, but I would like to start shooting a little bit better, a little bit more consistently right now. Does Rasmus' skill set make him a sneaky low 6K guy? I think it depends on what you want to do. Like I mentioned Minwoo. You built that lineup with like Hatton and Finau. I think Minwoo, if that's the route you want to go, the guys that can overpower this place, besides Rory and Bryson, Minwoo is probably the next guy on that list. And then it's probably Rasmus as well. Like if you're going to use Rasmus, I think you need to use Rory, Bryson, and Minwoo with him. Like that's the set of skills that you're building.
Yeah, Rasmus fit right in there to all those lineups. It's just again, that's what I said earlier. Like you were on mostly on, I should say, like the Glover, Gerard, Colley type plays. You've got other guys there. My guy Jagerbombs is there. You just mentioned Rasmus. EVR is right there. Your boy Pavon is right there. It's whoever your guys are. Like, figure it out. You're not going to be able to mix them all in or play them all, but they're all going to be leverage opportunities down there. If you want to take some stands, you can certainly do that. I think that's the way to do it.
Rapid fire to get to the rest of the ones that are left. Do you like Spieth as a leverage 7K play? I don't.
I think I do, yeah. I mean, like, again, I haven't fully built out yet, but I'm certain he'll get in there just because of that range. Again, it depends it all depends what your thoughts are around Lowry and Straka, but you're allowed to mix them all together too. But I like the Hatton, Spieth, Bradley, Henley, Finau, some of those guys in that range. Minwoo, who you mentioned, Sungjae, obviously. So all those guys I'm mixing in. They can certainly grind it out and find their way around here, and that's what people are forgetting. Like, this is where the show totally flips every week, Pat, and you and I both understand that and try and explain it best possible. The beginning, we were talking about who's winning. Probably none of those guys. On DraftKings, that's not what we're talking about because you probably need the winner in your lineup, but we got Bryson locked in Pat's lineups, for example, or for the most part. So, you've got who you think is the winner in there. You are now putting around it what you think is going to be enough to make your lineup find the top. So that's, not a betting segment now. We're talking about DraftKings.
You factoring in leg putting at all this week? I looked at it. I don't know what to make of it, so no, I'm not. And I think it's hard to judge leg putting because all these courses are so much different.
Yeah. How would you ever judge it? I mean, outside of obviously the stats can tell you what they are, but how would you pinpoint it for 1 week?
Yeah. Like Drew has some good stats on like very large greens and putting outside 70 feet, but you're not also going to find giant surfaces that run at like 15 on the stimp meter at the same time either. So it's not really apples to apples when you're talking about the Mexico Open on the slowest greens on tour.
And there's a situation too, like guys are out of the fairway, laying up, and then they're getting much closer. It's still their hard greens. I get it. That's why the sample is hard to go off of. You just never know how it's going to play out.
Ryan Fox and Cam Young, you like either of those guys? I'm kind of off them this week.
I guess what was Cam Young 6,500 this week?
Yeah, I just think people will go to him.
Yeah, he's probably still going to get some love there. We'll see. He'd be the guy more than Fox that I probably end up on. We'll see.
How will Mason Howell fare here? Good God.
Well, he currently sits just inside the top 475 of the World Amateur Golf rankings. So I'm not sure, Pat. What do you think? Do you know before I just said that who Mason Howell is?
I was, because there was someone who tweeted at me like the books won't even post numbers on him. That's how good he is. It's like I think they legitimately didn't know he was in the field.
Yeah, that's
more of an explanation than he's so good they don't know how to price him.
3-time All-American, currently the all-time stroke average leader in history of the University of South Carolina.
What a hero. What a hero. Listen, if you think he's going to be good, use him.
I'm sure he's fine. I mean, there's obviously something that people are bringing him up for and talking about. People are like, oh, you don't know ball. It's like, I don't care. I just don't care. Yeah. I'm going to win on DraftKings this week. That's what people are here watching. If Mason Howell busts me up, might be time to retire. Yeah.
Projected ownership on Connors, I'd probably say is like 15 to 18%.
I got like 12 to 15 in the lottery and then more when you go up.
Will it be different to start Bryson with 2 8Ks and no one below 7K? I don't think so, actually. I think it'll be more different than most lineups, but I think that's like the secondary go-to.
Agreed. That's what I was saying. Like what gets interesting is when you go to more like a Bryson with Ludwig and Thomas or something, or like a Morikawa and Fleetwood, and then drop down and skip the sevens. Like that's where I think you can get there.
Let's see. Thanks for the Scotty one and done advice. Up inside the top 10 right now. How does it change now that I'm up near the top? Example, do I use Straka or Rom? I would use Fleetwood. Like the guys ahead of you are probably going to use Rom. If you're good with the top 10 and the money that pays, use Rom. If not, use Fleetwood or a guy of that range. Last question. Do you like Matty Fitz or Matty Fitzpatty? Good God. What are you fucking 4
You
years
were thinking
old?
it said or Patty
No.
Reed.
Passing on that one. We're getting a better question for the last one. Thoughts on Thorbjorn Olesen? I'm off of him. It sounds like you like him.
Yeah, I thought he was interesting. 6K flat. So one of the guys that people will talk about, but can't really get to. But you also can't play everyone down there. And obviously I like Jaeger as well. But I don't think I love too many guys down there. So those two would probably be guys that would fit into my pool for this week.
Griot, McCarty, Nico, the 5K guys that you want to play this week to hopefully end up making the cut. Tambo, what you got going on? Ship it later.
Big day today. We have all kinds of stuff with Ship It Nation, Mastermind, all that stuff. But the big thing in the focus today I want everybody to know is it is the celebration stream tonight at 7 p.m. in the Lord's time zone. As he would have said, our late friend James, Degenerate75, we're going to be celebrating his life, honoring him, a ton of stories. Some people are coming on to speak and say words on him, almost like a celebration of life, but within the fantasy space. We got that over on the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. It'll be 8 p.m. Eastern for the new guys out there that don't know what the 7 p.m. Lord's time zone means, but should be a good one. There's a very cool tribute video that the team made. It's like 12, 15 minutes long of just all kinds of great memories. Everyone that will speak on him will have some stuff there, and try and continue to raise as much money for James as possible with his GoFundMe now up to almost, I think it's like 37,500 with the guaranteed put in by one of our partners as well this week. So we're trying to get as much money as possible raised for James.
That's amazing. And normally I do a live chat right around that time during Major Week, just so people go tune into that and I don't take any attention away from it. I am not doing a live stream tonight, so everyone can go over to the Ship It Nation YouTube channel. I'll be there as well, just hanging out and listening to some great stories about James. So I think that you should be there too. If you have some questions, just tweet them at me. I'll have my newsletter coming out tonight that's free to subscribe to. You can just check that out, read it, have on the stream in the background, and get in there and just listen to some nice stories about everything. That will do it for me. Give me your favorite 5K guy down in the comment section once the stream is over. Share the show around. That would be very helpful, and it will get you into the draw for those Pro V1Xs as well. So go over to Twitter, tweet this live stream around right now, and you are good to go. All right, good luck at the U.S. Open. I'm Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.